Hey everyone, Tim here from SnapAttack. Let's dig into this week's threat snapshot. So today we're going to be discussing CVE-2023-23397, and that's a critical privilege escalation vulnerability affecting all versions of Microsoft Outlook on Windows. This was addressed in the latest Patch Tuesday, so a patch is available, and we highly recommend that all customers apply it promptly. It's also a really novel and interesting technique, which is why we're going to talk about it today. So everyone who's used Outlook is familiar with that little notification pop-up that reminds you that you've got a meeting starting soon. And that little notification sound, most likely if you've been in back-to-back meetings, you've been plagued by it. And interestingly enough, many versions of Outlook ago, somewhere in that file, Microsoft chose to allow a user to specify a file path to play a different sound. Sure, that would be nice, that would be music to some people's ears, but that's also what the attackers are using here. You can specify a UNC path, and Microsoft Outlook, being helpful, is going to take your NTLM authentication, and it's going to pass that along with that UNC path and authenticate as you to try and grab that sound file so that it can play it for that calendar invite. So really, this is sophisticated. No user interaction is required. An attacker can send you a malicious calendar invite that can pop up and that little notification plays. And in the background, when that's all happening, your NTLM credentials are going to be passed to a server that the attacker controls, which they can then use, crack, replay. Pretty nasty stuff. And thing that I want to kind of highlight here is part of this acknowledgement. So Microsoft is acknowledging that this was reported by CERT UA, so that's the Ukrainian CERT, and they were seeing this attack based on a Russian-based threat actor. Reading between the lines a little bit and what others are acknowledging, this is APT28 or Fancy Bear or Russia's GRU. So these were targeted attacks against Ukrainian organizations as part of that ongoing war with Ukraine. So this is really a chance to kind of peek back behind the cyber fog of war and see what some of these attacks are going on behind the scenes. So let's actually talk a little bit more about this technique. Going to give a shout out to MDSec and this blog post here where they actually reverse engineered a little bit the Microsoft script that allows you to audit your servers to see if you may have been exploited. And they notice that this is part of this reminder file parameter. Taking a look at how you can generate that appointment, they actually saw that you can specify the path and set that you want to override that. And with just a little bit of coding here, you can actually generate these malicious appointments. So this here is really all you need to create a POC and actually perform this attack. So very easy. I've definitely seen some researchers weaponizing this. It's not going to take long for other threat actors and red teams to be using this, so this is why we wanted to cover it. So we have 3 versions of this attack that we're going to look at today. So the first one is going to be using WebDAV. So all 3 of these attacks are going to be pretty much the same. We've got a malicious appointment that we are going to create. Again, if this were going to be a more sophisticated attack, I would email that, and that would kind of pop up in your inbox, and Outlook may even try and be helpful and automatically add that to your calendar and suggest that, hey, that meeting is about to start, and you might not have even accepted that meeting invitation. It's going to let you know that that meeting is popping up. So we're going to do this a little less stealthily here. Sorry for cheesing it, but we're just going to add that appointment and set the reminder here to our calendar. And we're just going to, or Outlook's going to take a second, and that, calendar invite is going to pop up. So that's all that needs to be triggered for this attack to succeed. Again, we've got a Linux host here, we've got responder up, and again, wanted to just mention that we have disabled SMB for this, and this is why it's going to fall back through WebDAV. So we can see here that there's some detections. This also shows really well in the process graph. And again, we're going to kind of talk through some of our parent-child relationships and all of that. So we have Explorer. Obviously, we opened up Outlook. There's some interesting child processes here, but again, MS-Edge WebView. This is really just opening up emails and things. Where the attack pops up and what people are really discussing online right now is this SVC host, which is going to pop up and run DLL32, which is going to run the WebDAV client, which is going to reach out to that UNC path and try and pull down that audio file, again, to help Outlook be able to play that. So this is what a lot of people are using to alert on. You're going to see here ACE Responder. So they were able to, again, take that MDSec Labs POC, weaponize it, and see that path. So you have that malicious invite that the attacker sends. The target is going to be opened, and they're suggesting that SVC host to run DLL32 with, again, that DAV client, DAV set cookie argument, that is the key detection here. The thing that they show and that I really want to highlight and emphasize is that it is going to try to send out multiple SMB requests. Those are going to fail. That's what that X is showing. And then eventually SVC host is going to send out and fall back to WebDAV. So if you were doing a traditional NTLM relay, SMB was open, you're not going to see that SVC host and that WebDAV detection. So this is, again, why you want to test your exploits, why you want to see all of these different attack variations, because we're going to need a couple of detections here to actually really mitigate this threat. So for this particular one, how would we detect this? Again, a lot of people are sharing this detection or variations online. So this is looking at that suspicious WebDAV client execution. We're going to see run DLL32 here. That's going to be launching that DAV client DLL with the DAV set cookie parameter. We see that here. There's definitely other threats that have used this before. Emotet has used this. There's other tools, other things that have definitely used this. It is also, again, built in, so Windows that does have legitimate reasons to reach out to something via WebDAV, you're going to see this in an environment too. So, this detection may need a little bit of tuning if you're looking for, internal, resources, maybe looking for somebody moving laterally. If you're looking for external resources, that could be a good indicator of somebody trying to gain initial access with this technique. So definitely consider what IP address or what host it's connecting out to when you're looking at your detections here. So the other variant that we wanted to talk about is what happens if SMB is up and we're going to do an NTLM relay attack. So again, similar sort of scenario here. We've got a malicious Outlook calendar invite that we've sent. We have that here in Outlook. We're going to go through some of these pop-ups, and we're going to go to our calendar, and we're going to actually see that here. And I'm going to just skip ahead a little bit into the video to when that is going to pop up. And oh snap, we've got our calendar invite, and again, we've got that NTLM relay going on here. So I'm going to back it up for a sec. We're going to hop over to Kali Linux. We have responder up, and I think I'm going to back it up just a little bit more. And you're going to see here, I'm going to pause the video, we've got authentication against SMB 10016 SnapAttack, and we've got an interactive shell that we can connect to. So we're going to open up, we're going to just netcat to that shell that Responder has created for us. And I mean, you can see the shares, we can use $, and we're in. We've got access here. So very easy for us to, again, relay that credential. You can see how we've got access to that system. Very powerful technique. How would we detect this? How would we hunt for this? Again, when we're looking at this on our process graph, we're going to notice that, hey, we don't have that SVC host run DLL32 here. And again, if we go back to that, ACE responder diagram, because the SMB requests are succeeding, we're not going to actually see that WebDAV call out. So the way that we would detect this is, drum roll, probably best with detecting NTLM relay attacks. These are pretty complicated to detect. The best way that I have found is going to be relying on a couple of Windows event logs that you're going to have to turn on. I'm going to give a shout out here to Cybermonk. This is a really good kind of blog post that explains how NTLM relay attacks work, what you're really looking for. And again, you're going to be looking at two different Windows network events. I'm just going to actually hop over to the detection here that he's written. They have them for Sentinel as well as MDE. And the first event is going to look at 4624. So This is going to look for possible NTLM relaying. So again, we're looking for a logon type 3, so a network logon with NTLM. We're looking for non-administrator login sessions, and we're going to join that again with a 4672. So basically, we want to see where NTLM token was for one host or user, but then given to another one. So that kind of discrepancy is where we can see that, that this token was relayed. So again, this is going to have to be kind of changed up depending on, where your SIM is. You're going to need to enable and collect both of those events, but that is definitely the best way to look for NTLM relaying in general, which again, that's what this technique is using. So finally, want to talk about a kind of third variation on here, and this is from PwnDefend. And they kind of pretty quickly realized that Outlook reminder file, that notification, that this is actually a very legacy feature dating back to like Office 97. Used to be a way that you could actually specify that in the GUI, but of course, because backwards compatibility reasons, that's stored in the registry here. So they found that you can actually set that WebDAV, that UNC path here, as a registry key, and you can use this CVE as a persistence mechanism, so that anytime a reminder plays, instead of playing that reminder file, that normal sound, it's going to again reach back out to your UNC path. So pretty neat. Definitely works. We have proof of that here, where we have gone through. We have, again, we're going to not use any specific malicious calendar invite. We're going to just say anytime that notification pops up, go to this path. We're going to set that via registry here via PowerShell. Then we're going to open this up, and we're just going to create our own calendar invite here in Outlook. Let that pop up, and that's going to work. Ta-da, we have hashes here. So pretty powerful, pretty interesting. Again, how would we hunt for this sort of thing? In this instance, again, because we are relaying SMB credentials, again, I want to emphasize, again, there's no trickery here. We're not seeing that run DLL 32 because SMB was available. So can't necessarily rely on that on its own. If we were going to detect using this as a persistence mechanism, probably the best way is to look for registry creation events. So we're going to see here that for that HKey current user, that it is going to be targeting this path for that Office 97 reminder, and we're going to see here that a UNC path is being specified. So, obviously that's not going to be hacktheplanet.wave, and again, it really doesn't matter what that file is because it's relaying the NTLM credentials to try and grab that file. So this is definitely something that you can look for. This should be highly targeted to the CVE. I can't imagine this being used widely in any environment. So if you see this detection, triggering, that would be pretty high confidence. So that's our third and final way that you can, use this CVE for your purposes. And that's really our snapshot for this week. So again, with SnapAttack, we help you stay ahead of threats like this. So like, subscribe, join our platform, comment below the video, and we'll see you next week.